Hello, and welcome to another episode of the podcast, where we look to reassure you. I'm going to start that again. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the critically acclaimed...
Uh-oh.
Fuck, you've done it now.
What have I done?
You've got the beeps on my mind. Hello, and welcome to the critically acclaimed Football is Fixable, Alright podcast. Critically acclaimed by us, I might add.
Oh, yeah. We're very critical.
Yeah, we are indeed. And we think we're brilliant. So I'm sure we'll soon get the BAFTAs or something that we deserve. BAFTAs?
Do you get BAFTAs for podcasts?
I'm sure. Yeah. An Oscar or knighthood. We'll
be the only ones nominated because I don't think they do podcasts.
Oh, there we go then.
We're shooing.
There we go. It's basically like Man City's title. Anyway, with that, we'll get straight into the news. So, well done to Man United. What a win that was. Who expected that?
It was a surprise, yeah. Thank God they did that, though, because I just didn't want City to win another trophy. You know?
Yeah, I know, yeah. I mean, for Man United, after the season they've had, Ten Hag, all the criticism, do you think that's kept him in his job, maybe?
Probably I would probably say yes, because United seem to be quite loyal to him. They seem to have shown that they're willing to back him, regardless.
Well, going back, one of our early episodes when we had Dan on for the Fixing United episode on our Spotify podcast. Go and have a little look back then.
Yeah.
In our early days when we were young.
Yeah.
And Dan said that if you finish 8th, like Arteta did for 2 seasons, a United manager would not survive that.
That is very true.
I've been thinking about this last week or so.
You're really hoping they'd finish 8th.
So if Ten Hag keeps his job, then I'm going to call Dan and laugh in his face. No, I'm going to certainly let him know that, is that so true, is it?
Yeah.
You know.
Wow.
There you go. I just remembered that because I just thought United finished 8th.
We are never having him on this podcast again. He's making us look a fool. Yeah.
Hey, I didn't agree with it. I disagreed with what he was saying, so I'm right. Well, maybe. Unless Ten Hag loses his job in the next couple of years. In which case, well done, Dan. So, in other news then, we've got the England squad has been announced over the last week or so. A couple of weeks we've got some friendlies coming up.
What a squad.
What a squad.
33 players?
I'm not sure we can field all of those, but...
This is like Chelsea's dressing room all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, and Forest, yeah. Any notable omissions for you?
Omissions?
Rashford not in it, for example.
It includes half of the Prem, so...
Pretty much every English player, apart from Rashford.
I don't think that's a glaring omission, because it's a big name off the list, but I don't think Rashford or Henderson should have been chosen anyway, so I don't see it as an omission. If Rashford got picked, it would only be because of what he did the season before last. It wouldn't be anything to do with what he's done in the last year.
Yeah, exactly. He's had quite a difficult season, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I have some news from Gabbywatch. So
yeah.
You may remember...
This is Gabby Agbonlahor, not Gabby Logan.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Loads of respect for both of them, but yeah, very different people. And Gabby Agbonlahor we talked about in recent episodes, going back to some of the great things he said, and he keeps us in the job for the things that he says, really.
Yeah. There's a lot of things to fix.
Yeah, fix and correct. So he's come out and said he's confused why Rashford hasn't been picked for England.
Oh, he didn't.
He did. That was on. Well, it was on TalkSport, which is.
I wonder if does he wake up in the morning and think, what crazy things can I say today?
What am I going to do today?
Oh yeah, he's a Beatle. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that sounded a bit like Ringo or whatever.
Ringo Starr. Yeah.
Gary Barlow. He's come out with another. Can we call it a clanger? But Rashford,
a Gabby clanger.
A Gabby clanger, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to have this as a fairly regular feature, we feel, Gabbywatch. But
we're going to have episodes exclusively on him. Don't we?
Yeah. But it gives us plenty to talk about. So yeah, I think Rashford's it's right that he's not involved. We've got Crystal Palace players involved. Probably and I suppose, rightly so.
Yeah, you've got to go. A lot of the choices have to be made based on form, because just going by reputation or name, you're not gonna see the results.
But Southgate seems to do that though, doesn't he? He seems to go by names so often.
Loyalty,
and play like Sterling for so long. It took Sterling to really be noticeably rubbish that everyone started to cotton on to me, and I think you agreed with me that Sterling wasn't very good.
I said it from the start.
So did I. I've been saying it for years. He's overrated.
I think what Southgate's done, when he first took over, and I think it was the 2018 World Cup was his first tournament, he decided to bring in a lot of youth, try to refresh the squad after a disastrous 2016 tournament. And even though we would have hoped to go past Croatia in the semi-final, he got us to a semi-final. I'm happy with the result that he got us. And we were a new, young, fresh team.
It was quite refreshing, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then the 2020 Euros, which took place in 2021, the players that he had, the youthful players, they were starting to become regulars in their own teams, and they were starting to become...
to grow into.
Yeah, and we almost won it. We only lost it on a penalty shootout against Italy.
Still
in form Italy as well. So again, I'm happy with the performance that he gave us, or the result that he gave us, I should say.
It's certainly an achievement, wasn't it?
Yeah, we've pointed out before when we watched the tournaments that Southgate's performance in terms of substitutions and the teams he was picking and stuff were left a bit wanting.
Up for debate.
Yeah, but in terms of the result, fine. 2022 World Cup, he really failed, I think, because the players that he had were starting to come to their peak, and he had a real opportunity with the lack of squad talent the other teams had to really cement his legacy. And I think we should have gone past the quarterfinals. We should have beaten France, really. France have a good team, but not a great squad. And I know there was still Argentina with Messi and stuff, but I think we had a good enough squad to do better than a quarterfinal.
I think so as well. Yeah.
And this is his final tournament, really. I can't see him going past this tournament, where the players that he's got now are really coming into their peak,
into their primes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think was it Shearer? I can't remember who mentioned it. The best player in the Prem, arguably Phil Foden. The best player in La Liga, arguably Bellingham. Best player in Bundesliga, arguably Harry Kane.
Yeah.
You've got to think that not only do we have the players at their peak, we've got some of the best players in the world now.
Yeah.
And again, the squad, I think...
Saka and Rice as well, just to get a couple of the
Arsenal
boys.
The France team might be as good, potentially, but the squad...
I think the question marks are in defence, but if he can sort that out, we've got so much... Probably the best midfield and forward lines, or at least up there.
Yeah. And because we've got some of the best forwards and midfielders, he cannot have this idea again of we need two pivots, we need to concentrate on defense.
Sitting. Yeah.
We just need to make sure we score more than the others. Let's make sure
play that way.
Yeah,
the Real Madrid way.
Yeah, Real Madrid, the old Brazil style. If we're so good at attack, the best form of defense really is offense for us.
For our team at the moment, you think, keep the ball in the other half.
Yeah.
Because we can't defend.
Yeah.
So, in other news then, so more to come on England's team. We're going to do episodes on the England team coming up, aren't we? And our predictions for the tournament, no doubt, and all of that. More England chat to come. I've got a little bit of news. So, over the years that we've known each other, so it's quite a long time now, you've said to me how you've really, when people say things like literally, when they say literally...
I literally died.
I literally died. I literally just I was. My hands were tied. I was like, were they? It's like things like that. Well, I found some more in the news, and I've actually got a snippet. We've got a recording, so I can play for you.
Brilliant.
And so we've seen from when we were kids watching, the Fergies and Mourinho's, where Fergie could literally give the hairdryer treatment.
What was wrong with that?
So Fergie could literally give the hairdryer treatment.
Yeah.
So what's literally the hairdryer treatment, Cess?
Well,
does he get the hairdryers out? Does he?
Hairdryer treatment.
So what's hairdryer treatment?
That's a phrase, and you know that.
Is it?
You know that.
Literally,
you are taking my term literally, the hairdryer treatment literally.
Well, I was signposted that way, I'm afraid, by it literally hairdryer. So you could have just said hairdryer treatment. This is a cescism. This is something that you pick up. A cescism is something where, as we all know, where you pick things up that actually aren't true, and you like to pick holes in things.
Yeah.
If you said hairdryer treatment, That would have been absolutely fine. That would have sufficed.
No,
You
'cause
said
the point.
literally hairdryer treatment.
No, so you've decided to take a snippet without taking the context
Have I?
of what I
Alright.
was saying.
Well, I'll let you defend yourself. Go on then.
Well, I was talking about the player attitude, wasn't I, from
Yeah.
a couple of episodes
Recent
ago.
episodes, yeah.
Yeah, and I was talking about the attitudes, the way that managers are able to treat players nowadays. It's a lot softer and everything, whereas before Fergie was able to scream and shout effectively, and that's what we call the hairdryer treatment.
Yeah,
and so
it's
I was
sort of a metaphor, isn't it? A hairdryer
yeah.
treatment.
So I was saying he literally was able to give the hairdryer treatment.
I need an English teacher to come onto this podcast, but I believe a metaphor is not literal. That's the point. A metaphor is to say, so a hairdryer treatment is a kind of exotic way of expressing something more flamboyantly. You said literally a hairdryer treatment. Were hairdryers involved, Cess?
I'm not saying literally hairdryer treatment. I'm saying literally giving the hairdryer treatment. Yeah, there's a difference.
We'll let the listeners
In
decide,
fact,
shall we?
I met a girl called Simile. I don't know what I met her for.
In other news, so you spotted something in the news, Cess, about Wenger and VAR. What was that about?
Yeah. Well, before that, I'd just like to also say that a bit of a Soonest watch.
Oh, was there?
Yeah, on one of the podcasts with Simon Jordan and Troy Deeney, he mentioned, well, that's the beauty of football.
Sorry. Couldn't control myself there. That's football, Cess. I don't know what your problem is. It is literally football.
It's an art, yeah. But yeah,
Literally.
So Wenger, as we all know, is a genius.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
Even Wenger now is stealing from our podcast.
Is he?
He is, yeah. So you know his VAR talk, wanting to improve it and everything, and he was proposing with the offsides how to improve it. What he said is exactly what we mentioned before. I don't know if you
fixing offside episode?
yes. So this was months ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah. So what I said was there needs to be a clear gap between the two lines.
Clear daylight.
Clear daylight, yeah. So the lines, usually red and blue, I think it is,
Yeah.
between the last defender and the attacker.
Yeah.
I said that quite often the lines are overlapping each other, and then in which case, why are you trying to see if someone's shoelaces are offside?
Yeah, if it's that close.
Yeah, there needs to be, for me, there needs to be a clear daylight between the two lines for you to be able to say, okay, that's enough to give it offside. If anything, we also suggested it really should be the furthest back of the attacker against the furthest front of the defender, so that it effectively means
You actually have a clear advantage if you're
yeah,
offside.
because if you're running, if you're an attacker and you're running towards the goal, you're naturally going to be leaning forward, in which case your head or your shoulder will be furthest forward. So it's giving a disadvantage to the attacker if you just put a line there.
Yeah.
But I said at the very least there needs to be a clear gap. If it's the attacker's heel or if it's the attacker's head, wherever it is, there needs to be clear daylight. And Wenger came out and said exactly that. He heard us.
He is a genius, and yeah, I mean, I think you might be on something. I have one way of fixing VAR: get rid of it, which we know. So in a previous episode, we've already explained all this. It's and we've justified it. It just has to go.
And yeah, we all worked out that you were wrong because nobody thinks that.
Well, they do. Offsides next year are going to be semi-automated, aren't they? So
Yeah.
I mean, that would be much better than the line system anyway.
Yeah, the more we can take the decision away from the referees, the better it is.
They don't seem to know how to use the equipment for a start, do they? So
No. And they're always surprised whenever. Have you noticed whenever it goes to VAR? Can you just check, please? No, all of a sudden, like,
just give me a second. I need another angle.
Takes them 2 minutes to actually get to the place,
And a lot of the time, they're looking at other sort of things that have happened.
Yeah.
That's not even the thing we're looking at. And like we said before in a previous episode, sometimes you see it so clearly in the stadium, yet they spend ages on it, and you stood there waiting. So go and listen back to our episode on that. It's good fun. We'd recommend it. We think it's brilliant, don't we?
Oh yeah. Well, critically acclaimed, isn't
it?
Yeah,
according to us, that is.
Yeah.
It's just
for our lawyers.
Sued. Yeah, the lawyers in the background going, no. So yeah, let's go on with the episode, shall we? So we're talking about VAR. We did talk about this a bit last week. So why do you want to bring this up again, Cess?
Because VAR is a big thing, and we can probably both agree that in terms of topics for this season, VAR is probably number one.
It's just, and it shouldn't be, should it? Football should be the number one topic.
Yeah, something football related should be number one, but it's VAR.
And it's ruining football.
Yeah, and because
It's
Wolves
awful.
came up with this whole voting thing to try and get rid of it for next season, I think it'll be good for us to revisit VAR.
Yeah, so that's right. So yeah, Wolves, just so everyone, I'm sure they're not living under a rock. So Wolves have proposed it. They scrap VAR. So it'd go to a Premier League vote, won't it? So I think it needs 14 Prem clubs to pass it. Whether that goes through or not, we're going to review today whether VAR should stay or go.
Yeah.
And why.
And why. And I think we should review our fixes as well.
Oh yeah, so going back, if you look onto our Spotify, you will see that we fixed VAR ages ago. They just didn't listen to us.
Yeah, they're in the problem they're in now because they didn't listen to us.
And a lot of people are now saying things, as we mentioned this on our previous episode, didn't we?
Yeah.
But they're saying things that we said weeks and weeks, months ago actually, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Initially though, I said we should scrap it. I didn't want it in the first place.
Yeah.
So I said that's where I stand. But if it's going to stay, and then you quite probably more realistically thought that it's going to stay.
Yeah.
But it needs to change, and that's where we kind of compromised, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We both agreed it couldn't stay as it is.
Yeah, we started off with the idea, you definitely wanted it gone.
Yeah.
And I thought it should stay. And we both agreed it was primarily because you're looking from the point of view of a solely football fan.
Yeah,
Whereas...
and also you can go into the park and play a game of football, and it's exactly the same as it is on Premier League television. You know?
Yeah, and between the two of us, I had the benefit of kind of having a more worldly view, I suppose.
You watch a lot
more
of rubbish sports,
experienced,
don't you? So
I suppose I live my life more. So I'm able
watching
to...
those rubbish sports, and
Yeah.
you get to see how it's done where no one cares.
where no one cares. Oh, right.
So interestingly, you're talking about Wolves there. One reason that they said that they wanted to, scrap VAR. This is what the Daily Mail reported. So on the same day that came out, so this
The
must
finest
be
of
true.
newspapers.
Oh, absolutely! It's an academic newspaper.
Yeah.
And I
Does
sent
this mean that you read the Daily Mail?
Well, as you know, on our socials, I've signed us up. So we're basically like, in superhero films, when they have they're tuned in to the police radio.
Okay.
So
right.
I've just I've camouflaged us, but I've signed us up to loads of things. So we get the feed of what all these Muppets are thinking and saying. And
I
all
get
that.
you. Yeah.
So it gives us material that we need to fix, basically. A Liverpool fan that I know, I sent him this earlier. So how have VAR decisions affected clubs over the last couple of years? This is from the Daily Mail.
So like the points they would have got.
Yeah, so how many mistakes VAR's cost teams,
Yeah.
basically. But I don't know what the science is behind it. It's the Daily Mail, so it's all a bit vague. So I'll skip down to the table.
They'll probably blame it on immigrants or something, wouldn't they?
Diana, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, don't know if Royals, if there's any Royal fans in there. She was wonderful. But can we cut that out?
You're like digging it up. Oh, obviously, if it's William,
Like
maybe.
hung drawn in quarters or something. But so they tallied this up. So skipping down to the stats, we have a fixing stats episode, which we say that stats should only be used with a pinch of salt. Really, you should read stats that are reliable for a start. Make sure you know the sources, you can trust them, and then come up with your opinions afterwards.
That's the episode with Coops, right?
Yeah, the Coops one.
So that's my favourite episode we did.
It's a good episode. We had some good reviews on that, and it's I think been said it's our funniest. Please do go and catch that one. That's our fixing statistics, how we should use them. Stats are there, absolutely, and it helps us to understand things, but we have to use them correctly. However, I'm going to present these with a pinch of salt. I don't know if the Daily Mail's used them correctly.
Okay.
So Wolves have actually, according to this little table, Wolves have a minus 17 points. Let me have a look.
Well, yeah,
5 year
points.
It's a decisions net score. So whether that's decisions that have gone against them, so 17 decisions.
Oh, okay.
I think is what they're trying to say here.
I did hear something about Wolves being the most affected.
Yeah, this season especially, they have had some shockers go against them. Arsenal are next, actually, minus 7 decisions.
Okay.
West Ham minus 5, Tottenham minus 3, but then we get into the positives. So teams that every other team's benefited, according to, or at least this is the highlights of what they're saying. Top 3 teams who have benefited. Who would your initial thoughts be?
Man City, Chelsea, just the hateful teams.
The hateful ones. Chelsea are on +2. They're around
Not
the
a
middle.
surprise, yeah.
They're around the middle. The same as Palace. Newcastle are +3. United and City are +3. But then the top 3, Brighton +6.
Oh, wow.
And then Villa +4. They had a lucky one against Arsenal, actually. I have to find that one out. Arsenal should have had a penalty against them. Liverpool +4.
Wow.
But when I shared this with my Liverpool fan friend,
Yeah.
he said, no, that's not right. That's not. Because he's been telling me that we've suffered more than anyone. He then sent me a contradictory set of stats from ESPN. So this was our stats debate earlier. Basically, it's all nonsense anyway. I don't think you can measure
That's also an American group, isn't it? ESPN.
Oh yeah, do they even understand soccer? So it's a completely different table. Apart from Wolves are still bottom, they're -6. So this is the VAR net score from ESPN.
Okay.
Fulham are top of this one with a +5.
Maybe that's this season, because I think Wolves, I remember hearing something about this season, Wolves have been the most affected or something.
It seems like the ESPN one is a bit more scientific. They at least try and say how many decisions have been rejected, overturned. They break it down in a bit more of a specific way. Arsenal in this one are -1. Everton are +3.
Yes.
Villa are still +4. Oh, maybe. Villa are +4, so they're still second. So there's some similarities. Tottenham are on 0 on this one. So yeah, maybe this is a more recent example, but
Possibly,
the whole point of what I've just gone on about there is really there's stats either way. Whether you look at the stats or not, VAR has changed the game, how we see it and how we watch it, especially for fans in the stadium.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily changed the game in terms of. I don't like the idea of this team's been affected with the most decisions and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Because pre-VAR, that would have been the same. The refs would have made the wrong decisions.
Yeah, mistakes happen
Some
before.
teams will be affected more than others. So
Absolutely.
I don't think VAR's changed that. But as you say, it's the experience that the fans have in the delays that go on,
Yeah,
how
that
we
affects
watch
the
it.
game, doesn't it? Because those
the
delays,
flow of the game is completely
the
ruined.
flow of the game, the momentum. When you're playing, I mean, we've played the game. When we're on the pitch, if you're get fast tempo, you've got momentum on your side. Take advantage of that moment, and you get so you got that extra kind of breath in your lungs, and you can kind of run with it. VAR sucks the atmosphere as well as stopping that pace of the game. It messes the whole thing up, and it can also change your mentality because it's got you waiting for ages, and then where you think you've got a goal, it then completely changes it, and it's been minutes have gone by since it messes with your head. It's not.
There was that one
done
VAR
correctly.
decision that was made. What was it? 6 minutes after the whistle was blown or something.
Well, there was remember the Arsenal Newcastle one when that there was
the
like 3 decisions
decisions.
in one thing, but it took them like 6 minutes or
I
something.
think because we listened to it afterwards, didn't we? And that was about 5.5 minutes long, where they were just constantly saying, "Can you go back a bit?" No, not that one. Go back. Oh, you went too far.
Just Jesus. And all the fans in the stadium, at least on TV, you can have a rough idea of what they're. You can't hear them, but you can see what they're changing on the screen.
And we can see exactly what they're seeing. Yeah.
It's like, I think they should just, one fix, I'm skipping ahead, but is they should play some sort of, that lift music you get when you're in like a lift?
Yes.
Play that.
A little jingle in the background.
Yeah, a little, just waiting here kind of thing.
And that whenever the TV signal goes or something, you get that girl with the puppets image.
Girl with the puppets?
Yeah, there's that image. Whenever the TV broadcast disappears, you've got the colourful lines.
I know the colourful lines or the little target looks like a sniper scope or something.
Sniper scope?
Yeah, there's one with like a sniper scope. The listeners will know because they're quite sophisticated.
I reckon when they hear what I said, the colourful lines and the girl with the
You
puppets...
said the girl with the puppets?
Yeah. They will understand
No one's
that.
going to understand what
you
you're
don't
talking
understand this because you don't watch anything other than just football and Arsenal things.
Yeah, well,
If it's not Arsenal related, if I said to you, "Oh, the one with Dennis Bergkamp," you'd be like, "Oh yes, from 1993."
He was at Inter Milan. No, he was at Ajax. That's the year he went to Inter Milan. I think.
Well, you also thought that he came second in the Ballon d'Or in 1998.
It wasn't Ballon d'Or, but it was FIFA Player of the Year, wasn't it? That he was in the top 3. No, it was third.
In
not
1992, you were 6 years out.
second. Oh yeah, it was early 90s. That was when he was at Ajax. That one, yeah. Something like that. Anyway,
But anyway, VAR.
yeah.
How did you manage to get me to Arsenal?
Yeah, that wasn't me. That's you this time.
Yeah, but
you're
it's
making
just-
me hate Arsenal, man.
Arsenal's living rent-free in my head.
I love
Little
it.
callback there.
Yes.
But yeah, I think the problem is that because fans aren't involved in VAR like we are at home when we can see it, we've said this before, they should just show it in the screen, shouldn't they? But they don't.
They should
They
do
don't
Who Wants to
involve
Be a
fans.
Millionaire, ask the audience.
Yeah, and the music.
Can you imagine that? Ask the audience. Dun, 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 dun. And that sounded a bit
Somehow
like a countdown,
one person
actually.
get
Yeah,
the- you hear the
1%
phone
said,
ring.
"Oh no, I thought it was offside."
Yeah, but every time it'll be exactly the percentage of the fan base. So it's like home and away. It's
50-50
Yeah.
or home and away. It would be
80-20,
80-20s. Oh, all right then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're not involving the fans, you're not involving the players. You're not involving anything. All it is that the ref and VAR just talk to each other, and for some reason take ages. Then of course no one's going to support it at any point.
It's become its own beast, though, isn't it? I know on a recent episode for Lineker's thingy, his podcast thing.
Yeah.
Don't want to promote it, but as much as we love those guys,
Yeah.
but he said he feels sorry for them, and I do in a way, because these refs, they're human beings. They're trying to do the best job they can. They've got the pressure. The Prem is, the pressure is kind of a cathedral of pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's a cathedral.
I know that's what they get. I mean, come on, that's.
Yeah, you need to clip that, I think. The thing is, what Lineker said there, we said that back in our ref episode, which I think was episode 4.
Yeah.
We were saying that we were basically changing things to actually defend refs.
Yeah, true.
Because there's death threats and everything. It can't be like that. They need to be respected. They need to
absolutely.
have the authority. We actually said that Lineker stole that as well.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
We say some good stuff.
We do.
But yeah, so in terms, I appreciate the pressure that now, but when they have a blunder, that suddenly it cranks up the pressure, doesn't it? So then the next week they're kind of just rushing, and that's where things get missed.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we're looking at it's the refs that are the problem, and that's where we looked at those quotes as well, wasn't it? Where O'Hara said it in a stupid way, and,
yeah.
Klopp said it in a correct one. So this was on our previous episode, so I won't say the whole thing again. But the gist of it was that with the refs as they are, this is what Klopp said: refs as they are, it should be scrapped because the refs aren't going anywhere and they don't know how to use VAR properly.
Or, as Jamie O'Hara said, refs aren't the problem. VAR isn't the problem. Refs are the problem. So we'll get rid of VAR.
Yeah, so let's
get rid of the thing that isn't the
logical-
problem. Yeah.
yeah, and then I gave that brilliant story about the bathtub. So you have to go back. There's our little trailer for the previous episode. Go and listen to that. For me, I think it's like in I'm a very sophisticated teacher.
Oh, sorry, you were being serious. Yeah.
Yes.
Carry on.
So that in teaching business, there's one thing we talk about. It's known as the Hawthorne effect. So the idea is,
Remember, you got young listeners.
oh yeah, well they need to learn this. It's going to be in their exam. So the Hawthorne effect. No, it probably won't be in your exam. Don't worry about it. Well, still listen. So the Hawthorne effect is when
Yeah, you were literally saying, you don't have to listen to this. It's fine.
oh, this is rubbish.
Don't learn.
No, the idea of this theory is that when people are watched, they behave differently. Like when you said once when you were walking past someone, you knew they were watching you, and you suddenly you forget how to walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. So, and I'm the same. And when you walk past a police, or you're driving past like a police car or something, suddenly you start looking more shifty than you otherwise
Yeah.
would.
Or in the airport when they say, do you have any sharp objects in your suitcase? And all of a sudden you're thinking like, do I have a machete in there?
It's my like samurai sword. Where is that?
But instead it's like, no, I packed it. I know I didn't put
No,
any sharp
it's only
things
my
in
guns.
there. Yeah.
But no, this is so stick with me on this. So I think refs now, if you go, somebody said to me, if you now get rid of VAR, is it actually going to change though? The refs are still bad, but football before VAR, I believe, was better, and this is why I said to get rid of it anyway.
Yeah.
And stick with me on this, because what I think is,
You mean football as in just the game in general, or the decisions?
so the game and even the decisions, the refs weren't as bad. Yes, there'd be blunders, there'd be mistakes, but also I think everyone, the fans, and everything there's more of an allowance for any mistakes. So if there's a linesman's not absolutely with a minute detail that he's offside or something like that, we can understand it. It's the clear and obvious ones. How did they miss that? And that's what VAR was meant to be brought in for anyway. But when they know they're being watched with VAR, there's a lot of refs that aren't making decisions that for years it seems like they were making. And we explained this on a previous episode. I can't remember what episode it was actually. Go and listen to all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the whole idea of the Hawthorne, I think the refs are behaving differently, knowing that VAR is behind them. So they're letting decisions go that previously would have been made. Can't prove it, but I believe that's the case. And if we go back to football without VAR, it's all on the refs now. So it goes back in their hands. They have the control and the power. Yes, we still need to respect them. Yes, there's other improvements that need to be made. but VAR is being used. It's almost a scapegoat, I think, for the referees. They think it's all right if I made a howler, I'll get called out in a minute, and they'll tell me to go back.
Yeah.
So they're letting things, stupid decisions go.
Yeah, it's quite possible. One counter argument to that. Don't get me wrong. I kind of feel similar as well. I feel as though they're not making the same decisions.
It's
they
changing their
would have done.
behaviour because they're being watched or because they know it's there, and I think it's making them worse than they actually are.
But the one counter argument I'd have to that, we've listened to the refs. You're able to on YouTube. You're able to listen to what they say.
Yeah.
We've listened to the worst ones. The worst one for me was that this season, the Liverpool-Tottenham game?
Yeah, it was Liverpool's first defeat, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that one, I think that was the worst decision. The one where Luis
shocking.
Diaz was called offside when he scored, but he wasn't.
It was but not even just. It was so
it
clearly.
is clearly not. And to be honest, the VAR guy, he obviously knew that they didn't. I don't think they even put the lines up. They saw it and they were like,
It's so obvious. It's clear and obvious. That's exactly what VAR.
But the mistake that was made, the mistake was not the decision itself. They said they thought that the ref said it was onside as well. So they just said, go with your decision, and didn't realise the ref had called offside.
Yeah.
The ref actually had made the decision, and every recording I've heard, every ref audio I've heard, the ref has made a decision. And I think in every single one, from what I can remember, the ref made the wrong decision. So if VAR wasn't there, their decision would have been incorrect anyway.
This is the VAR ref, though, isn't it? But
the actual ref on the pitch.
But for offsides, that's not the refs. The ref was, I remember, because he put his hand to his ear, didn't he? And he said, right, so check complete, play on. And they actually said the words check complete, even though there was somebody in the background in VAR's office.
Yeah, so it was the ref himself that was saying play on. The VAR guy was saying...
Oh, so he misinterpreted what
he was like, go with the ref's decision.
Yeah.
The ref, every time, when I've listened to any audio in any game, the ref has made a decision. So the counter-argument to what you say, even though I kind of agree that they must kind of be changing the way they make decisions, they're still making the decisions, and they're still wrong every time.
True.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I feel as though even if the problem I have with VAR is not necessarily, it's always how they use it. It's not necessarily a way to make them better, because I don't. If they're already bad, then I don't think it's going to make it any better.
And you know what? For once, you make a good point there.
For once,
So,
nice. Thanks.
The ref, it's the procedures. So the VAR procedures, there was a mistake, and the person in the VAR person knew that the ref misunderstood.
Yeah.
So the ref played on, and then the game's moving. But it's against VAR procedures to then be able to stop anything.
Yeah.
What should happen is common sense. And then the person in the VAR box, or wherever they are, wherever it is, park, well, I don't know where it's called now, and they just say, ref, just stop the game, or when it goes out for a throw, stop it, we made a mistake, just a bit of common sense, clear it up.
Yeah.
That mistake is much bigger than that small inconvenience or annoyance to any fans for 10 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that.
It's a clear and obvious error. That's what VAR's for. You should be collecting it.
And it counts for a lot. At the time, I think Liverpool were top, and that would have been great momentum, because Tottenham were doing well that season as well. Like up to then, they had a
good start to the season.
Really good start.
New
didn't
manager,
they?
bounce and all that.
Yeah. So imagine Klopp winning against that kind of Spurs, and just that would have spurred them on more than possibly what they would have achieved this season.
They made a good fist of it anyway, didn't they? Is that the right phrase? They've done well.
Yeah.
If you made a fist of it, that's not a good thing, is it?
Oh yeah, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Or...
Yeah,
we need to fix that.
If any fans would like to write in, then let us know.
If you're a listening fan, please get in touch. The other thing is that next season, without VAR, presumably they're going to have, because we're meant to be moving to semi-automated offsides.
Yeah.
So we don't need VAR. That's just a mechanism that they've used in the Champions League. And if the Prem has that, that would make sense to use that. So it helps the linesman.
Yeah.
So we've got the kind of what I think, if we're going to keep any of VAR, it's the kind of objective decisions. So it's the goal line technology and it's the offsides. And if you've got the semi-automated offsides, then it makes sure that we get it right.
Yeah.
So then it's kind of subjective decisions. It's the clear and obvious.
Yeah, the ones where you have to rely on the refs.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to fix in this episode.
Yeah. With the offsides as well, I just want to quickly say, I don't really know how good these semi-automated ones are. They want to bring AI and all this stuff. That's all over my head. The one thing I don't quite understand is that what they've been doing so far is if there's a possible offside, the ref says, possible offside, can you check? They go, yeah, sure, let me just put my tee down. Where am I? Let's just have a look.
What are
We'll
they
start
doing?
rewinding. Yeah, and it takes about 20 seconds for them to actually show the image on our screens at home.
It's like rewinding the old cassette tapes,
Yeah,
the videotapes.
and then they start putting the lines on, and then they're like quite not sure where to line it up and stuff. And I just kind of thought, why aren't the lines always there?
And you just drag them over or something.
Yeah, you can, and you can have a screen, for example, where there's loads of line. There's like 100 lines on the screen at all times for the VAR refs. And so immediately they can say, okay, hold on.
Drag it over, compare. Yeah. And
Why can't they have a second screen, like in rugby, a second screen where they're 10 seconds delayed?
That's a good point, yeah. And
With
you
a
just have a
decision-
quick look and see if
Yeah.
there's anything there first.
All offside decisions should take no more than 10 seconds. And imagine...
Are we fixing it now, by the way? You're already you're getting onto that.
Well, I mean, this is supposedly fixed with the semi-automated thing, but I just don't understand why they didn't do this. Because imagine if at the start of the season, you were told that VAR's coming in and you didn't like the idea of VAR, and then an offside decision went Arsenal's way after just 10 seconds. And you think, that didn't stop anything. The ball was out.
Yeah.
It normally takes more than 10 seconds for a keeper to take a goal kick, and the decision was made.
Well, as you know, it only takes a second to score a goal.
That's true. As long as you count a second back from the goal, yeah.
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 Every other time, it's much longer than a second.
Yeah.
There's lots preceding it. Anyway, go back to our silly sayings episode to find out more on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if we keep the semi-automated in the those objective ones, the kind of fact yes or no, then that should be near enough a perfect result every time. It's going to be 90.
Yeah.
They say it's like a 99 point something % success rate, isn't it?
And it's always going to be the case that what's that phrase? The news concentrates on the plane that crashes, not the planes that land.
Yeah. So it's the outlier.
Yeah. For all we know, which I think actually the Prem's proved it. The decisions that are made for offsides are far better than before. It's just that we now see in super slow-mo and lines the offside decisions that they should have gone one way but didn't.
Exactly, yeah.
And so we can be more outraged about it.
This is the thing, what you were saying there, and this is the richest league in the world. It's the Prem's got meant to be the best teams, the best managers, the best pitches. The Prem's got because of the TV rights, it's watched all over the world. It's got much wider viewership, hasn't it?
Yeah. And we talk about it a lot.
And we do.
We bring a lot of eyes to the
That's
to the
true,
league,
yeah.
don't we?
We're helping the league as well. We're part of the machine. So
we should be given money for it. Like I said before, we're a non-profit organisation.
But not by choice.
Not by choice, but yeah. We wouldn't mind some sort of...
If we say that to the government, we might get like grants and stuff because we're a non-profit organisation.
Yeah, but then they'll want us to fix so many political things and...
But then they'll put procedures in the way as well, and it'll become much more... To fix things, we have to jump through hoops. And...
They'll have the House of Commons, House of Lords, and fixing football.
The House of Cescisms.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, I think we should get on to some fixes.
Yeah.
Right then, Cess. So how are we going to fix VAR then? So if it does, assuming that it's going to stay, is that what we're thinking?
I think so, because I think they only need... what was it? 14 votes to pass it.
So that's
they
quite
only
a lot,
need 7 teams. Yeah, but if
Yeah.
you think about it, 7 teams. Liverpool and a few teams, a lot of the big 6, I think, have already come out and said they want to keep it.
They keep it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So even if you say, 3 or 4 teams already have publicly come out to say it, you've got to double that number, probably realistically, to reflect the rest of the teams.
Exactly. I don't think it's going to be an easy... you think, even though I think fans would want to get rid of it. So if it's down to a fan vote, I think it would actually pass. But I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be close for the teams' votes.
I think it'll be close. The difference is, with the fans can't relate to it because the fans in the stadium, they're not involved at all. They're the ones that are affected the most, I suppose.
Yeah, I've been there several times. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
You're in the stands and you get now. At first, you didn't even get the screen. At least now you get a screen saying VAR and what they're saying, checking offside. But that's not really helping when it's 2, 3, 4 minutes.
And the fans at home, they get angry about it because you can see it in super slow-mo and you're thinking, why are you looking at this over and over again? And so the fans tend to be against it. With teams, I'd imagine they see it in a different way. I think I saw the percentage. Before VAR, 82% of ref decisions were correct. Now with VAR, it's 96%. So it's clearly working in terms of decisions being made. So I think for teams, they look at everything scientifically now, don't they?
That's it.
So they must see the decisions are going correct, so they would want to keep it.
And that's it. If you're the bigger team, so I wouldn't be surprised if they are voting to keep it, because they're the ones who are more likely to be dominating in the opposition's half, more chances
Getting
of
penalties,
and decisions, free kicks and things like that, where you're putting the pressure on. So there's more chance of decisions going for you.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if...
Yeah, I would say the clubs would see it differently to what the fans do.
Yeah, it's probably going to help ensure a win when you think there's less chance of a smaller team that have one chance to go and break away.
Yeah.
It's going to minimise that, you'd think, because of VAR would come in. There's more chance of it supporting the larger teams.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do something actually that a lot of other podcasts and YouTube shows and stuff do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna steal one of their ideas. I'm gonna steal Gary Lineker's idea. I think we talked about it before, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
He's quite a big fan of other sports. He's kind of like me. He's
a big fan of our podcast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But he's like me. He's worldly. He just knows a lot more things. He's not like you, just living in a cave.
He likes rubbish sports.
He
likes
other
cricket,
good
doesn't
sports.
he? No one likes cricket.
No one likes cricket. It's the second biggest sport in the world.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like really like old people. So they'll when they die out, cricket, like who's going to watch it then?
So until like the 1.5 billion people that watch it die out.
Yeah, so they're already like retired, aren't they? So there's only another decade or two, and then where's it going?
Right, okay.
Anyway, so that's a fix for another day.
Yeah. So what Lineker said, I'm sure we've said it before. He was talking about the appeal system.
Yeah.
And I'm now convinced that is the best way to go about it, because the biggest problem with VAR, we've said, is the refs making the decisions.
Yep.
The refs clearly don't know or don't have a consensus on what a clear and obvious decision is.
Exactly.
They all have their differing views.
I agree.
And I've got to say, I think every single one of them's wrong about what clear and obvious decision is, and whether something...
It's certainly not consistent.
No, not at all. And the way to completely mitigate that is to have an appeal system, like in cricket, like in tennis, like in other sports that have developed this long time ago, and they've had decades to work on this. Say, for example, you give, 2 lives per team, and it's up to the players then, or the captain, I should say, to formally say it, to actually appeal something that's happened. So it's the decisions taken out of the hands of the refs.
So you wouldn't have the captain, not the manager, would you say?
I mean, you could have the manager shouting to the captain or something. I don't mind that. Or maybe the manager wanting to appeal. The one thing is, I think that's up to the teams to decide how they do it, because the captain or the players might say, no, as the manager, you're off the pitch. However, you weren't there. You're not the closest person there. Leave it to us.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't really mind. I think it's up to the teams how they decide if it's the manager or the captain. Whoever it is, I think the decision of when to use VAR should be given to the players so that they can decide if they get it right. So, for example, if Bruno Fernandes thought it wasn't an offside, even though it was given offside, he can appeal. If he was correct, he keeps that life. If he was incorrect, that life is taken away, so he's only got one appeal left.
Just like the tennis and presumably that rubbish sport that you mentioned as well.
The second biggest sport in the world, cricket. Yeah. So the problem is, this is what I've noticed with VAR. I think it's a good system, but football seems to be determined not to do what other sports did, and they want to come up with their own.
I don't know.
Ideas.
I mean, you're starting to make me believe that you're right. That it's just like we want to do our own thing. I don't know why they wouldn't. Why wouldn't they do it? So you're right. I mean, I still think get rid of it. I don't like it. Just go away. I never liked it. I didn't want it in the first place, like I say. So it's not since.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
just want to go back into that cave.
Exactly. Because that cave I was comfortable and I enjoyed football more. But yeah, I think the other reason why that might work is it also there's only a couple of opportunities per match realistically that you're going to be holding the game in the momentum. So it's going to have a smaller impact on the flow and momentum of the game. And also the fans have been more involved. They know that, the manager's claimed, look, or the team or whatever, look, they've used one of their lives up. Just like in tennis and presumably cricket. and it becomes a bit of an event when it's
yeah,
happening.
yeah. It's so fun because it's in rugby they don't have necessarily an appeal system, but in rugby, tennis, and cricket, when you see these replays of what's going on the screen and everything, it involves the fans.
You show the actual replay to the fans.
Yeah, and it's almost everyone's excited. They go, oh, and then the decision comes. They go, way.
Yeah, it becomes part of the entertainment.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. And I know the argument of football's a faster paced game and it's more free flowing and all this stuff. Game, yeah. The problem is, do you remember a couple of years ago, or it might have been beginning of this season, they were considering having 60-minute games.
It was this season.
This season, yeah. And they'd been having these conversations before because it's so stop-start, and they worked out that there was only like 50
minutes or something of a match is actually in play.
So this whole myth of it being a free-flowing game and all this stuff, it's just as stop-start as many other games.
Well, it's become a lot more stop-start because of the diving, and that's one thing, again, a reason why. So it's not all VAR, why I don't enjoy football like I used to. But, we've talked about it, we've referenced it a few times in the past, that kind of, the perfect point, wasn't it? I can't remember how you phrased it, but it's that point where football's at its best in our lifetime. And then the last
early noughties, I think we said.
Yeah, sort of late 90s, early noughties, it really got going, especially in early noughties, because we had like 3 or 4 teams that started to compete for the league.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it, that all the students you're teaching now
didn't even witness that.
Yeah, they never got to see it.
Oh yeah, to them, some of them come up to me and say, "Oh no, Man City's the greatest team ever." And you think, really? And they tell me that Arsenal were rubbish and the Invincibles are overrated. I thought, when were you born?
So they are quite smart then.
Well, apparently, and I say, "So how old were you?" I say, "Oh, I wasn't born." Oh, so I should believe what you're saying, but
I mean, I wasn't born when Muhammad Ali was fighting, but I know he's the greatest heavyweight of all time.
You know that, do you?
A faux show, yeah.
Oh right, sorry, absolutely. I thought I was talking to someone else then.
Yeah, are you going to refute that with your great knowledge of boxing?
I'm going to refute. Well, from what I know, I don't think I should comment on it.
That's a very smart answer. That is.
It is because people who don't know much about things still feel they should say stuff when they shouldn't. So listen to us.
Like when Trump was president. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get like a SWAT team coming in and getting one thing which I'm a bit nervous about with that whole appeals process.
Yeah.
Is I wonder. So when a team makes an appeal, would they then, because their voice, we want you to go and look at that decision there, and it just it needs to be channeled in a way where what they're saying isn't going to persuade the ref or whoever's looking at it to be able to. So there needs to be some sort of disconnect between the managers on the pitch. It maybe still needs to be up at Brockley Park, or what's it called? It's something like that.
Brockley Park.
Brackley Park. It's something like that. Something Park, everyone.
Yeah, I doubt it's going to be Brockley Park.
I'm getting closer. It's something like that.
Cucumber.
I think they should still be away from the ground. So when this appeal goes through, it's not made by the ref on the pitch. It's made by someone with the screens. So the ref doesn't go over to the side of the pitch where he could be influenced.
Yeah.
I think it should go to another part, to Brackley Park or wherever it is.
We've said this before. When they have this new high-tech system with VAR, they have this box, they have all those screens you see, and you see several people in there. And then the referee goes, "Have you made a decision?" They go, "We've looked at it for the last 3 minutes, and we've all decided that you should make the decision." Well, what's the point in you and all that system when you're just gonna go, "Can you do it for us,
exactly.
please?" In that tiny little screen off the pitch.
Oh,
We've said that before. I kind of agree with you, and that also ties in with what we said about how players should be treating the referee. Because what's probably going to happen is not just the captain going over to appeal. You're going to have 7 or 8 players appealing and surrounding the referee, hounding him, pushing him.
Exactly. The way it is at the moment, because they haven't followed our procedures for improving refereeing.
Yeah.
I think the way it is.
In fact,
at the moment,
they didn't follow their own procedure of yellow
their own
cards.
first, and their own procedure first, or ours, which is even better.
Yeah.
For the short term, at least, they need to be sending it off-site, if you like, so there's no potential influence from the manager.
Yeah, and you can have the referee literally telling them, absolutely no point saying anything to me. You've got no basis to say anything.
Exactly, they can't hear you on the thing, or that kind of thing. So there's no influence or bias being put into it, basically, to manipulate that decision. So I think if that's going to happen, then I could live with it potentially.
Yeah, it's the same thing as, say, for example, in tennis. You've seen it before when they appeal. It doesn't matter if the player's shouting at the umpire, the decision on the screen doesn't change.
Exactly.
So it should be like that, shouldn't it? It should be a complete disconnect between the player and whoever makes the decision upstairs. All right, and let's just say that football is unique. All right? Football is unique. There we go. Right.
We said it.
Yeah, we didn't rehearse that or anything.
No,
That was
we
amazing.
did. That was so. It is a unique sport, though, Cess. I know you hate.
Obviously,
that, but
it's an art.
It's
yeah,
an art.
absolutely.
It's special.
But yeah, let's go along with that. All right. And let's say that VAR just doesn't work as well with football as with other sports because it's unique. Let's use that argument. All right.
VAR doesn't work as well. Oh, sorry.
So we'll go with that argument. Football shouldn't be embarrassed in learning from other sports. It doesn't matter how unique a sport you are, you can still adopt certain things from other sports without somehow thinking you're inferior or that they're somehow better than you.
I don't know if it's just because I've heard you say it a million times, but I genuinely just start to think that, yes, football it does feel different. Maybe that's because I'm biased and football is my main sport. I mean, I do love snooker and a few other sports as well, but football it does feel, I wonder if it is, it's kind of it's the people's sport, isn't it, in Britain especially. It's kind of the sport that...
It's definitely ingrained.
It's ingrained in our culture
more than any other
really,
sport.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It feels different from other sports in that sense. So maybe that's part of it, that it's resistant to change, it's traditional and all that kind of thing. But they are still making changes. The rules are changed and it seems made more complicated every year. Yeah. So if they are going to do that, that doesn't mean they can't do it right. So like you say, if they're going to have VAR, they should learn from other sports.
It's simple, isn't it?
Logical.
Because some of these sports have had it for couple of decades now. There's absolutely no point in saying, oh no, let's not bother learning from them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I know. So in that case, we're happy with our fixes then. So
yeah, are you in agreement with me that they should bring in the appeal system then?
If it's going to stay, yeah. Right now, if I was one of the Premier League clubs, I'd be voting to get rid of it. But even us as an Arsenal fan, where, like I said, the top clubs are probably going to benefit from VAR more often than not.
Yeah.
Most likely. I'm not sure those stats on those league tables are... It's so difficult. When you hear... I've heard the refs come out and say, we get 99% of all decisions correct, that those subjective decisions were correct. But they're subjective.
Yeah.
So what's correct? I'm not sure that's an accurate
that's what
measure anyway.
Howard Webb said that, didn't he?
Yeah, they come out and say, it's got... The record's amazing. Oh, hello.
Who's this?
It's Coopy. Oh, Coops is calling.
Oh. We're getting a live call from Coops, everyone.
We're live on air.
Yeah.
Hello, Coops.
Hello?
Oh, you're very husky. You sound like Darth Vader.
Can you hear? I can't hear a thing.
Oh, you can't hear... Can you hear me?
I can hear you, I just can't hear me.
Well,
what,
you can't hear yourself in your ears?
No, I've lost my little PlayStation earphone thing, so I've had to put in these earbuds instead.
It sounds like you've got the flu.
I can't hear myself, so...
Do you need to hear yourself?
Do you need to hear yourself? Yeah.
Well, yeah, otherwise I don't know what I sound like.
What?
Why do you need to know what you sound like?
I don't know.
You're recording this, Cess, yeah?
Yeah, you're live on air, by the way, Coops.
That sounds better. I've got you on the iPad speaker now, so everyone can hear how crazy you are more clearly.
Oh, great.
We want to know what you're thinking, Coops, about VAR. You know the Wolves vote that they got going on to try and scrap it for next year.
We just talked about if it is going to stay. Well, first of all, would you keep it or would you vote for it to go?
Honestly, I'd probably get rid of it on balance.
Nice.
So he's
on
in
balance,
that camp, yeah.
What's the balance?
Well, honestly, I can't. Sorry, I'm gonna have to say one of these things out because I can't hear a thing. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're fine, yeah.
Okay, that's a bit better. I can hear out of one ear now. What was the question again?
How are you?
How are you, mate? Who's your favourite player?
I
Yes.
can't remember what the question was.
So basically,
was...
you said on balance you would get rid of VAR, but what's the balance?
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Is there a caveat? You'd keep it if? What would you change if you're going to keep it?
Well, I said all along, the only way that it can become exciting with VAR is if you had, Well, I don't think it would work properly anyway. But if you had some kind of like challenge system,
Oh.
like in some of the sports.
Well,
So in other words, you had like 3 chances to make the most of it, and if you didn't make the most of it with your 3 chances, then well, it's tough.
Well, I tell you what,
captain
Coops.
to make the decision.
Tell you what, Coops. You're about 40 minutes too late to that because we've already fixed it, and that's our fix.
that's one of our fixes.
Okay.
But we said exactly how it should work. But yeah, in principle, that's what we were saying. If that was going to happen, would you still keep VAR, or would you still prefer to get rid of it?
Well, you could give it a go, wouldn't you? See how it works. If it was rubbish, then you just get rid of it.
Yeah, fair play.
You might as well try it.
There we go, ladies and gents.
Yeah.
Or our fan.
Yeah, because Coop said so. That should be
Coops is the stamp of approval, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
People believe his. He sounds clever.
If he either approves or listens to what you say, then you know it's a good thing.
Yeah, because he's very selective on what he listens to, as we know.
Yeah.
So, on that, I think we're happy. We're going to draw this episode to a close.
I think so. Thanks for joining us at the end, Coops.
Yeah, thanks for... Oh, yeah, we'll figure out what you wanted in a minute. But let's just finish off this episode. So, thanks for listening, guys. Remember to like and subscribe on all our socials. It's goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
And Coops.
Hello? But I've not been here. Goodbye.
Goodbye.